Hello everyone, my name is Boris, and today I'm doing a broad review of Dankmemes. I noticed him playing Ixtal Bard line, which is not one of the most common lines in the game right now, so it's going to be quite interesting to see how he manages to arrive to a spot and pilot the line. So I view it very interesting to always look at how the pro players play the Ixtal line, as there's very much skill expression in picking the correct quest and being able to recognize your spot. Hence, I feel like one could review these Ixtal games time after time, especially with how the trait got a little bit nerfed, so the straight way to play it out is not as straight anymore. It's not straightforward, whereas before you could just go for a 550 cash out and hopefully you get one of the two cash outs that gives you straight to the Brock 2. Now we start out here with a Blitz 2 and a Briar pair, and our augment option in the first prismatic augment portal is, well, we have Deadlier Blaze that we could possibly play around if we had the Briar 2 and we have a Slam. Deadlier Caps, we do not really have an item holder for it right now and no item to pair with it. We Stick Together is something that one could consider, as some of the potential higher rolls, such as Bilgewater, makes this augment extremely strong, but you could also roll and it's not going to be as prominent of an augment. But I assume we default to it for now, and let's see if we're going to scout around the lobby, see what other options we have as well. Only just check one guy, see trade 3+, alright, we're done scouting, no more need for acquiring extra depression. Alright, we get offered Spoils of War and Secrets of Sand. Secrets of Sand, I'm not exactly sure what's the most prominent line right now. I'd assume it's some kind of a Seraphine Flex with a Zir, and you hope you're able to capitalize on the items you get. But you would need to hard stabilize around it. And Spoils of War, we just do not have the board for it, especially in the Prismatic start where we're bound to run into some very strong boards right now. We do get offered Prismatic tickets, so I guess we could just take it and say, in general case, that's alright, we're going to figure it out from here. We have some reroll outs. Either items also a possibility to play into something like a Yasuo, or perhaps an Echo. But we have managed to also find a Kiana here. And we have a Nico. And with Prismatic Ticket, it's also an option that we can just roll for a Bard, since while the Bard got nerfed, if you have these augments that give you some sort of free rerolls, it's still very good to roll for it. And we check the quest, we see that there's probably not going to be someone full out sacking us, so we're just going to go for max econ right here and look to play to some sort of an out. Let's see if we hold on to this Yasuo as a possibility that we even considered. Even though we know that we're going to end up in a Ixtal Bard comp, it's still worthwhile to pay attention to decisions made up to that point. It looks like we are not going to hold Yasuo, and we do high roll Amelia right away. So we have first offered an augment here, our quest. Nico survives 15 seconds in a player combat. Something we could consider if we could just trap the Nico right here with especially generous lower fight pacing. However, in the Prismatic lobby, we could expect the fight pacing to be a tad higher. And we do not exactly have something that could support us to stall for that, as Nico is our only tank right now. Lose 10 player combats in a row is generally a bit too behind the pace right now, since we've already lost the first two and we do not have Ixtal Expeditionist for an extra HP buffer. And if we were even to get to the cash out, we'd be only cashing up 500 on a 1 life. So I assume we're going to have an empty bench for 5 player combats, is also something that we can complete in a PvE round if we just keep our bench open by the time the combat resolves. That's also a thing to note. We're all here for Bard. Unfortunately, didn't pick up any upgrades, or have picked up a Loris and a Caitlyn to unlock potentially Ori, but we do just decide to sell for now, as well as with the Vi, since we do want to have that 3 Ixtal and we do not have a clean way to do it right now, and we're going to look to probably do it at some point during the stage 3. Now, yeah, that's the thing to note, that with these empty bench by the end of combat, it's being snapshotted at the end of your combat, not at the time of the combat timer fully resolving for everyone in the lobby. That's a thing to note also with something like a start combat with 0 gold, which the text is wrong and it implies that you need to have 0 gold by the end of the player combat, if I'm not mistaken. But you can sell the units once your combat has resolved to make perhaps a 10. But we're just going to sit on this for now, try to go for a 5 loss. Probably going to scatter around a little bit if there's no one open sacking for us. The other Ixtal player seems to be going for something else, and they have a Nico too, so I would assume they have not picked up a lose quest. Just gonna hold on for our items here. Picked up a tier from the carousel to start looking to source some kind of mana items for either Bard or Milio. This can appear with the only tank our econ, so we're just gonna sit here for now. See what other players are playing, see some bilge players, some going long. So yeah, the tempo already in the lobby is quite large. And we want some of the extra econ that is also gonna tie in not only our rerolls, but also generally spending our resources on completing the Ixtal quests, as you do want to do that as soon as you're possibly capable of doing so. Do pick up a Bard here and right here, but however, with lack of frontline, it looks like we're gonna level. And even though if it wasn't a Bard pair, we could have just slotted in the second Bard over Anivia here, and we should be no problems to do it. Pick up a gold orb, which I assume we did just to make sure that it's not a gold orb, but sit on the second orb in case it did contain some kind of unit. Now, Ixtal champion reaching 125 magic resist in a combat is something that is generally best completed with a stone plate, as with all the units positioning in a way that all the units target your stone plate holder, you should be able to snapshot that point. Ixtal champion doing 3000 damage in one combat. Something considerable, however we don't have exactly we have mana gen items for something like Emilio, but our upgraded unit is Bard, so it could be a little rough, especially if you get a turn delayed and the award is not worth it. Alternate 4-player combat is on the riskier side, however we might just have to go for it. And especially with the reroll board, we are generally able to stabilize harder than most people on stage 3. So if you're able to send it and find some decent upgrades and then play around accordingly, we might be able to complete that, and I assume that's what we're going to go for, as also that gives the prominent amount of shards. So we're first going to seem to go for another loss to go secure a 6 loss streak and have enough econ to be able to roll down next turn. Right, our next augment selection, we have on the bench something like a Nashor's QSS perhaps. I would be looking at those two items. Indiscriminate Kriller is generally, it feels like a bit undertuned. Augment and Giant Slayer is not fitting so well on the most units as an item itself right now in the current meta. Know Your Enemy is a good combat option decently, and also would give us an option to see who we are fighting. However, in the higher elo lobbies where players are aware of the augments you pick, they might be able to just outgrieve you in case you notice, and you might have to try to play some mind games. But Jeweled Lotus is generally a strong combat augment, which I would default right now. Plot Armor on the weaker side, however, nice for the comp given that it lacks a little bit of frontline. The same as Solo Plate. However, given the items we have right now, we just value Jeweled Lotus that much higher and end up going for it. I'm gonna roll deep here, probably to look for a Nico 2 upgrade. We are able to find a Swain along the way, and are also picking up... Have picked up a Caitlyn, but did opt to sell it. But did manage to find a Loris. Unfortunately, no Nico 2. And we are going into a bilge board, 5 bilge boards. While they don't have upgrades, unfortunately we lose this one. We would really have liked to win it. My items would have said that given the lack of upgrades we might have been able to, however they just have more item power right now. So we have to keep sending it for a Nico 2 right here and find a way to win this fight. I assume we do not transition the TG. A safer play here would maybe perhaps transition the TG onto an eco to secure some kind of more frontline presence. But we would most likely be having to move it right down afterwards. Finding a going along player, which would have been high on tempo, but thankfully we're able to now, with some frontline upgrades, able to secure a win here. Now going on to this carousel, we have an open cloak, and we picked up a sword, which definitely seems like it was a mistake. We could see you already just throwing it up and disconnecting from the game, which definitely was not an intention. We were probably looking for some kind of item, like, I don't know, maybe a Striker's Flare to complete on our Bard here. Okay, but now that we are back and on the alternate losing quest, we do decide to swap our Bard and go for the Orion lock, as we are looking to sack this round, or able to find the Blast Shields, which is good, probably the best Piltover mod option for this comp, given its lack of frontline. Unlock Oriana here. Unfortunately, due to how deep we have had to roll, we are low on the eco, and we are keep rolling here just to secure some upgrades and ensure that we win this fight. And we're praying that the prismatic ticket is going to be enough to bounce us back on the econ situation. Queue up into a Diana, which is interesting. Diana still paired with a Leone as well, and with a Radiant Kraken. While Diana is a lot weaker, obviously, now. However, if it's positioned around your corner carry, it can still secure those rounds. But since we have a Blast Shield and a QSSS here, then it had a Kraken, it did not seem to do so. Now, have 15 player units of your dying player combats. Once we are on level 6, this is going to be at least take 3 rounds that we need to sack, and we're, given our HP, we're not on the spot to do it. Buying XP, well, generally great if you're playing the more standard way of Ixtal. You would have saved your econ here to buy that XP. We do not have the econ right here, and reroll 18 shops is just a straightforward choice. Given our prismatic ticket, we opt to go for it. Slot and double Nico right here to unlock an Italy, which is just going to be straight up better than the Kiana. Now we're gonna looking to roll to complete the quest. Still our econ is tanking, but with how aggressive the lobby is, we have to go for it. Pass upon the wise to secure a Nico 3, which is hopefully going to stabilize a little bit. Unfortunately, did not hit the Bard right here. And we were probably looking to form some kind of frontline presence, and we're just gonna go for a Sandfire to sort the utility out, and hopefully we can transition these sword items into some sort of Brock items to give us a spike. But with reroll shop, we managed to get to a Brock unlock, and our augment choices coming in. We would probably be looking for something to bounce back our econ situation right now, as currently we are very, very poor, and we're still not in a Bard 3, and with no sight of something like a Milio 3. So I'd be leaning towards either a reinforcement or exclusive customization. Exclusive customization could just give us something to sort our front line, while reinforcement could let us cheat out something like either Nidalee, or if our TG on the Y rolls a stone plate, we could get a unlock Forest Corner. Little Buddy's not exactly the way to be able to play into this comp. And yeah, so we're just gonna go for a reinforcement. Oh, sorry, we have the TG on a Milio for right now, given the item situation. Just use the double sword to slam a Death Blade. And we have the Jeweled Lotus, so Hodge Synergizes is great, and a Striker's Flail, and are able to find through our cash out anvils a second tank item. Now Fizz positioned on the other side, so we are able to stall a little bit, also with the Milio rolling Edge of Night. Have managed to secure the spot around here. He's checking the cash outs. As you can see, the 550 cash out with the dupes perhaps would have not been the craziest one in the given spot. Now again we get offered units die or buy XP that we just do not have the gold for. Well, roll 8 times works exactly on our game plan, as we can fish for the Bard 3 and just use the ticket to help us that, and perhaps a high roll of 4 cost maybe. Hit the Bard 3 finally. Check that we've done the quest. Not gonna hold on to the out for Milio, as we are not rich enough to do so. And we were probably looking to make our way to level 8 right now. And with the extra oomph from the Brock, we seem to be quite stable enough. We have managed to secure our items not through augments but through our cash out, which balances it out quite nicely given that we have 2 econ options. Probably would be looking for some way to complete a third Nico item right here, and the belt is going to be great for it. Could transition into something like a, hopefully, a Visage, but we'll see. Now, Ixtal champion dealing for 500 damage is something that I believe a Brock could do. Starting combat with 0 gold, we are looking to level, but there's a possibility, however, I believe that again is going to nuke our econ even with the buy-sell units option. And buying 48 XP is something that we could take, as we are looking to push levels. Level up, roll, use our free reroll, and find Nidalee right away. It's a possibility to play for a high rollout such as this, given that Nidalee, no one in this lobby I believe is playing around Nidalee, despite there being another Ixtal player that was in the lobby. Now with the Nidalee with the TG and also the Jeweled Lotus synergizing with TG, she should be quite alright as a third carry for now. Units killed, units die. Units die is again, we're trying to right now win as much as possible, so it's probably not that same as with alternating. So we might go for 20 kill or just, yeah, probably go for 20 kill, as the cash out right now is not that much. And we have secured the Brock and the bigger cash out, so we are able to do it. Going to be staying here on level 7 to roll for Emilio, and we are 2 copies of Akiana 3. Sorry, not Akiana, but Oriana 3. Albeit unitemized, it does give the extra meeps for the Bard, which would put more oomph into our primary carry right now. Bard unfortunately not printing us the Orianas or the Milios. And that's another part with the Bard. At higher star levels, he is capable of printing higher cost units. Find an Oriana here. Keep rolling for both Milio and Oriana. One of Milio right now. Find the Oriana. We're probably gonna send it full weight. Hopefully find a Milio. Do it on our basically last roll. Second to last. Opening the anvil, we are... So our item situation is interesting, as we do want a third item. And we do not have a shred right now, so the tier would be premium for both of those. So we do slam an even shroud instead to secure the shred on our board. Well, even shroud Sunder is not particularly that much for us. It helps for the Brock. And well, Brock seems still to be the highest damage dealer, which is amazing for us. And the Bard prints us another Brock, so I mean, if he can print another one, that would be amazing. This is the part that I mentioned, that at higher star levels, he's starting to able to print these higher cost units. There's another variation where you can do so to play around something like a Silas, and he can print your Silases, but it's not the most sound of the strategies. And unfortunately we lose this round, so it puts us at 2 lives. We just go for the cash out right here. And this gives us a component that we could complete an item given our open cloak. Open glove. And we're just going to transition the JG to the Bard. Even though we have a Lotus, we do get extra damage in it. And given the 3 stars we have, for 3 stars, we believe that the Bard is going to be a stronger carry right now due to its recent buffs. We probably would look here either for, yeah, most likely a third item to slot on Emilio. Going to be going for Striker's Flail. We could have also looked for another item on the Brock, as our current survivability is only the Hodge. Now this quest, win 2 player combats with only 1 unit. Okay, so if we were to go for a cash out, we'd probably look taking the damage dealt. However, it is a high damage, and I think he just went 2 player combats with 1 unit surviving, as we're not looking to farm these cash outs anymore. Shawana pair on 7. I assume he was just trying to see if he could perhaps high roll a Brock through the free rerolls, as that would be an immense spike. However, our board is still very strong, and we are able to string together some wins. I'm not sure if the Bilge players have managed to cap high enough. I'm gonna push a level 8 to just slot in the second Brock right now. Trying to use all the resources we can to hopefully preserve as much life as possible, and we are queuing here into a Bilgewater board with the Volibear and emblems, so they rather decided to go rather, but the Ilaoi 3 they decided to rather than go for Flurry Old Rise. They did manage to squeeze a TF3 and end up on the fully Bilgewater board. And the Bard prints us a second Brock. Alright, so we now have a Brock 2. That is a very considerable power spike right now. Yeah, I was like saying we're probably looking to roll for some kind of either Arcanist which sits on the board, right? But generally Swain was the best option, that we managed to sneak out a Swain despite it being so contested as of a unit. I'm not sure how many players in top 4 are considering it. We do transition a WoW onto the Brock to just get him the first cast going, as that's the one of the most important casts from Brock, providing the CC and the extra damage outtake. And we managed to secure tops 4. We have a Demacia board that we're going up against right now. But I believe with the Brock 2 and our upgraded full units, we should be able to bypass the stat check by the Demacia. We also position in a way that unfortunately we do wrap around the locks. However, we just have too much of a presence right now through the Brock carrying, being the real carry. It's interesting to see that even though with all the 3 stars, as soon as we unlock the Brock and we were able to slap 3 items on him already at 1 star, he manages to do it. I'm just gonna full send it here. Actually, do not get that far away from the Y3, which is the lowest priority 3 star in this comp, but sometimes can be quite neat. Position an interesting way to make sure that the Fizz does not jump on our backline, however it still gets in there and seems to be eats our backline apart. But if we are able to secure a way that he does not get on it, we might be able to win the fight, because it was very close, and they just pick up another Vow, probably gonna go on the Swain. One off Vi3, unfortunately do not hit it. I'm gonna transition double Vow on the Swain, as we believe that the Brock does not need as much as survivability right now, and just get the cast out right away. We're on the side of Skarner, but it does not drag in, and the Fizz jumps away before he's able to eat our backline. So I believe that yes, through a last second positioning and a full damage Brock, we have been able to secure a win right now against a Bilge board that is quite decent cap, but they never managed to find our way to their 2-star 5 costs. Well, they have a Kindred too, which is unitemized, but still a very strong board, but with also a double econ. However, this was a very interesting game to see how through spot regression, picking correct quests and realizing at what point you need to tempo, when we need to fish for upgrades to stabilize and have enough, preserve enough HP to be able to get to the later stages of a game. A board that's perhaps quite not as prominent in the current meta can still secure very good placements and in weaker lobbies secure very many wins. I would like to thank you for watching, and I hope you learned something as much as I did. As I mentioned, I've always find it interesting to view these Ixtal games piloted by the best players, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.